What is the difference between tar versus CPIO archive file formats? I am curious and did a bit of reading but still have questions. What makes CPIO different than tar? I was told in another question that tar is for pulling together many files into one archive, which then is usually zipped or bzipped. Also, I was told tar cannot compress from stout. I want to archive, compress ZFS snapshots for backups. I was wondering if I could combine CPIO with zip2 to get this effect. Or do I have the completely wrong idea? Is that not what CPIO's purpose is? This is the kind of commands I have came up after reading Oracle docs on backing up ZFS snapshots.
Both tar and CPIO have a single purpose: concatenate many separate files to a single stream. They don't compress data. These days tar is more popular due to its relative simplicity. It can take input files as arguments instead of having to be coupled with find as CPIO has. In your case, you do not need either of these tools. They would have no useful effect, because you don't have many separate files. ZFS send already did the same thing that tar would have done. So you don't have any files, only a nameless stream. To compress the snapshot, all you have to do is pipe the ZFS output through a compression program. You can substitute zip with XC or zip2 or any other stream compression tool, if you want.
In addition to what was said before by Grauty and Paul. History. In the old days, CPIO, with Option C used, was the tool to use when it came to move files to other Unix derivates, since it was more portable and flexible than tar. But the tar portability issues may be considered as solved since the late 1980s. Unfortunately, it was about that time that different vendors mangled up the C format of CPIO. Just look at the manual page for new CPIO and the option H. At that time tar became more portable than CPIO. It took almost a whole decade until the different Unix vendors have sorted that out. Having new tar and new CPIO installed was a must for all admins, which had to deal with tapes from different sources back then, even nowadays I presume. User interface. Tar may use a tape configuration file where the administrator would configure the tape drives connected to the system. The user would then just say, well, I'll take tape drive 1 instead of having to remember the exact device node for the tape, which could be very confusing and are also not standardized across different Unix platforms. But the main difference is, tar is able to search directories on its own and takes the list of files or directories to be backed up from command line arguments. CPIO archives only the files or directories it is told to, but does not search subdirectories recursively on its own. Also, CPIO gets the list of items to be archived from STEN. This is why it is almost always used in combination with find. A CPIO command often looks frightening to the beginner if compared with tar. I think that's the main reason why most people use tar to create archive files. For simple tasks like bundling a complete directory, it's just easier to use. Also, new tar offers the option Z, which causes the archive to be compressed with new zip on the fly, making things even more easier. On the other hand, one may do nifty things with find and amp CPIO. In fact, it's a more Unix-like approach. Why include directory tree search into CPIO if there's already a tool that takes care of almost all one can think of? Find. Things that come to mind are only backing up files newer than a certain date, restricting the files to those residing in the same file system, or filtering the find output with grep-v to exclude certain files. The people of new tar spent a lot of work to include a lot of those things that were previously only possible with CPIO. In fact, both tools learned from each other, but only CPIO may read the format of tar, not the other way around. Tar and output processing. One last note to something you said. Also, I was told tar cannot compress from stout. I want to archive, compress ZFS snapshots for backups. I was wondering if I could combine CPIO with zip2 to get this effect. Well, every version of tar, new or not, may be used in a pipe. Just use a -sign as archive name. Also, new tar offers the option to command to specify a postprocessor command, although I'd still prefer the pipe. Maybe it's of use when writing to certain hardware devices.
I asked for HP tech support and CA 1996 why use PIO over tar. I was told that tapes stretch and wear out. When tar reaches an unreadable portion of the tape, it fails and returns error number. When PIO reaches an unreadable portion, it continues to the next readable block, resyncs and continues. I have never seen documentation to support this, but always used PIO.
tar and CPIO have essentially the same function, which is to create a single contiguous file from an input of multiple files and directories. Originally this was to put the result onto tape, but these days it is generally used to feed into a compression utility as you have above. This is because compressing a single large file is both more time and space efficient than compressing lots of small files. You should note that many image formats, PNG, JPG etc., are already highly compressed, and may actually get a bit bigger if put through a compression utility. Neither tar or CPIO do any compression themselves. Tar has effectively won the what shall we use to make aggregate files war, but CPIO gets a look in various places. I am not aware of any benefits of one over the other. Tar wins through being more commonly used. Tar can indeed take input on STIN and output to stout, which would then be piped into zip2 like you have or something similar. If called with a Z option, it will automatically invoke the zip on the output.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.